Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm professional golfer James Colin Davis, and in today's video, we're diving into a topic that affects so many athletes, especially us golfers: imposter syndrome. Even if you compete at the highest level, this can creep in and affect your abilities to compete. To help me navigate through this, I've teamed up with mental preparation coach Alain Cormier from Sports Performance Coaching. Together, we're going to explore strategies to help you overcome those negative thoughts and improve not only your game, but your mindset. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so we're here with Alain Cormier. Alain is going to be helping me out prepare myself mentally going into this season. Alain, do you want to take a couple minutes, talk about a little bit who you are, what you do, what the company you work with does, basically what's the vision?
Yeah, for sure. So my company is SPC. It stands for Sport Performance Coaching. The vision for SPC is to help humans use athletic performance to realize their full potential. And I really like the deeper meaning behind this work for me is athletic performance in competitive sports creates a really powerful platform for us to face ourselves, as humans, and to overcome our patterns. And my journey into coaching, I kind of recently linked it back to my early days on the golf course, where that's where I started asking questions about like human potential. And I just was so puzzled with why do I never bring why doesn't my best game show up when it matters most?
Yeah.
And those kinds of questions, like there was so much pain around, that line of thinking. And to keep a long story short, life unfolded, and then I got opportunities to step into a role of coaching, and that allowed me to tap into a different side of myself that I didn't really know was there. And I started to realize, well, coaching suits me better than playing.
Sure.
So I'm more motivated to coach at a high level than to perform at a high level, even though I still love performing at high, love pushing my edge as well. And along the journey of diving into coaching, learning about, what it means to be a peak performer, I started finding answers to those early questions that my younger self was asking and so puzzled by. We're growing a community with SPC as well. So it's a young project, but it's already creating a lot of impact. And that's a big part of our vision too, is to create a space where athletes can learn from each other and relate to each other through their own struggles. That's what's kind of hot in our business right now, is really bring the community to life.
So I know we talked about this on our introductory call, but just for the viewers, just kind of go over really the reasons why I approached you. So those who've been watching the channel for a while, especially if you saw my 2024 tournament season review, I talked about slow starts to rounds, taking 3 or 4 holes really for me to get going, as well as imposter syndrome, where there's just this belief that maybe I don't belong. And Alain and I have already discussed why that might be, because I did not follow kind of the traditional route to professional golf. And I've actually been thinking about those two things since the last time we spoke, Alain. And I mean, there's a direct link between the two. If I'm struggling with some form of imposter syndrome, well, it shows up kind of on a micro scale every tournament day, where I kind of have to see myself play some good golf for a few holes before I can actually believe that I can do it. Right. So that's just kind of my own little internal discovery since the last time we spoke.
I was secretly hoping you were going to say that you've been reflecting on, these things and you discovered all of it and you don't need me anymore.
No, I wish.
That's good, man. Yeah, for sure. So we're all set to dive in. So I'll take the lead from here in the conversation. Absolutely. I'm going to be asking questions. I'm going to be offering reflections, things that I see in your answers, and kind of playing the role of a mirror as well.
Sure. And
I might tell stories that are relevant to what we're talking about, that could help lead you to an insight, that will serve you. For you is just come along for the ride. Do you have any questions or anything to add to that?
Nothing at the moment. Nope.
Good.
I'm ready to, like I told you on the call, man, I'm an open book. I'm ready to get into this.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. The way we're going to start this session is I'm going to guide you through a breathing process. We're going to be breathing together And so that'll be eyes closed for a brief moment. You just have to follow my cue.
Sure.
I'll get you into a relaxed state. The reason to start with this is once I get you in a relaxed state, I'm going to ask you a question. The reason we do it this way is because I don't want the answer to this question to come from your head. I want it to come from somewhere deeper.
Understood.
And so we're going to create a state where you have access to a deeper part of yourself. Whatever comes up when you come back is going to give us direction, is going to set the trajectory for where the session is going to go.
Okay.
And then it's just it's game on, and we'll see where we end up.
Awesome.
But my intention is to serve you as powerfully as I can, and to hold you in, the highest light possible, to hold you. I see you as your full potential in a way that maybe you've never been seen before, maybe that you've never been able to see yourself before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the frame I operate from as we move forward.
Love it.
All right, well, let's go. We can just drop in, close the eyes. So the question that I'd like for you to reflect on until the answer becomes crystal clear to you is, if you could create a miracle in your golf journey as a professional golfer, what would that miracle look like for you?
If I could wish for anything to happen in my golf game, it would just be to have the belief in my ability beyond all doubt.
Cool. So you can come back and we'll start here. So I heard you say that a miracle for you as a professional golfer would be to have full belief in your abilities and your potential and your skills, and zero doubt, because obviously doubt is the opposite of belief. And so kind of turning the dial, doubt dial all the way to zero, and having the belief dial all the way to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you want that? Why did this come up for you?
I mean, I really truly believe that I will never be able to reach my full potential if I don't believe in myself to the extent that I need to. I might not have the best swing, the best short game, whatever it might be, but if I at least believe in myself beyond any kind of doubt, I can at least put forward the best of what I am. And I think that's the only thing that I want to do is, regardless of where my journey goes or ends in professional golf, I'm going to be able to sleep at night knowing that I was able to put out the absolute best that I could do.
Let's imagine you're playing at your full potential in some future timeline, some future reality. Where are you? What's the pinnacle of your achievements at that level of play for you?
Playing on the PGA Tour, competing in majors, the pinnacle of the sport.
As a young golfer, what did that kid dream of achieving? What was the big holy shit, I want that? Was there any of that?
Saw myself on the practice green, like every kid, you give yourself a 4-foot putt, and to me it was a 4-foot putt to win the British Open.
Okay, good. That's where I got chills when you said that. That's where I wanted to hear something like this, because I know it's in there. Speaking it is the first act of creating it. How does it feel in your body to go there, to say it, to hear it reflected back to you in this way?
Feels good. I mean, you said that you got chills when I said it. I did as well. I don't actually think I've ever said that out loud. So that's big. And I can literally picture myself on the practice green at my home course when I was a junior, and making the putt, doing the Tiger Woods fist pump afterwards. It brought me back.
Good, man. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you, what is your level of belief on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolute belief, no doubt, 1 being very low belief, that winning the British Open is possible for you?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Okay.
I believe the only thing stopping me from doing it is myself. Anybody out there can go out and achieve essentially whatever dream they have, or at least give themselves a good chance to, but we get in our own way. So I don't think that it's impossible at all for me to do it. I think my mental state is what brings me to that 4 or 5 on the reality or on the scale that you asked for.
Yeah, especially in golf, it's you versus you. The opponent lives inside of you, and you are your own best friend and your own worst enemy out there. And every golfer knows this. So now we got context for where we're gonna go next. It's you just acknowledge that, yeah, man, there's a part of me that wants that. It's been alive in me since day one.
Mhm.
And that dream, I would imagine, played a large part in you never giving up on golf and coming back to golf. And it's in there for a reason.
Mhm.
And I say to every athlete I coach that we have to dream as huge as we can, because it sets a really powerful trajectory for the path. And
Absolutely.
it gives the most powerful context for the work. You might win the British Open, you might not. If I can help you, I will. And
Mhm.
that is beyond it's kind of like the why is bigger, because what you really want is to experience yourself in full belief at your full potential, and be able to look back on your golf career and be like, I did it, man. Like,
Mhm.
I went for it, and I did the work, and I did it. The results don't really matter in the end. They're like the cherry on top. But what we want, our deepest intrinsic motivation, is to find out what we're really capable of.
Mhm.
And so not being fully honest and transparent about what's really alive in you, then doesn't really set it doesn't stack the deck in your favor. You're not going to go for it if
Right.
if your goal is to just play on the Corn Ferry Tour, and that's
Mhm.
like you feel safer kind of just like talking about that goal, then that's where your trajectory is set to. But now
Sure.
it's like, okay, let's go big, let's play at this level now. So if I ask you what does live in that gap from 5 to 10, what if you imagine actually, did something come up for you just on that question? There's like a reframe that came to mind for me. But if I ask you just kind of what lives in that, what's that gap made of? Let's start there.
Well, I guess I should go over everything. So, bit of a later start. Didn't follow any kind of traditional routes. Wasn't an outstanding. I was good, but I was not an outstanding junior. Never even, though I probably could have, never even considered trying to get a scholarship, even if it was like a D3 or something scholarship. So didn't play college golf. Only played in one actual like provincial junior event when I was a junior, and though I got a good result, again, I'd only played in one, after high school, basically, or after the 1 year of Cégep, which is kind of like college here, basically just entirely gave up the game for the better part of 10 years. Played a couple times a year, but it was more the social aspect, or just like playing with my dad, than actually trying to go out and play and compete. When I first got out playing mini tours, it was basically all guys who had played junior golf, a lot of them together. They played college or university golf, and then they'd kind of turn pro. And there's like this kind of brotherhood between all of them, because they've just spent so much time around each other through all their years in competitive golf. And I just kind of like showed up out of the blue, didn't know anybody. And there was for sure already some lack of belief at that point, but then kind of seeing that everybody else had basically followed the same path just kind of, I guess, reinforced it, you could say. That's
Mhm.
definitely one side of it for sure. The most immediate one that comes to mind.
Yeah, man. So what's coming up for me, my mind kind of went to you when you got on tour. And this is where, in the late start, this is kind of where these stories surfaced and
Mm-hmm.
reared their ugly heads for you for the first time, right? It's like
Yeah.
the imposter syndrome turned up to 10, like, whoa,
Oh yeah, very quickly.
this
Very
is,
quickly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that reality hits hard. If you go back there in your mind, when it all started, when the pro journey started, how did you feel judged by the world of golf, by the people around you? What judgments did you imagine that people were projecting onto you?
I didn't necessarily feel judgments from the outside. Most of what I was feeling was internal. Because I remember going into my first pro season, like, I literally don't think I could have been any more confident. And got off to a bit of a shaky start in the season, and that imposter syndrome just hit, like you said, it hit really hard.
All right. Well, that's good that you have an awareness that it's not them judging you, it was you judging
No.
yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted
Yeah.
to kind of lead with that frame.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to
Okay.
flip it, and I'm going to ask you, what judgments were you projecting onto yourself when you stepped into the world of pro golf?
I guess after having a bit of a slow start to my first pro season, now there are all these questions, did I make the wrong choice? Should I have stayed in my career? I actually had like biweekly paychecks when I was doing that, and some kind of health benefits, and now I was just kind of out there grinding on mini tours, which are very expensive and very hard to make money, and really, not really getting any results early on in my professional career. So there would have been a lot of questioning over the leap of faith that I'd taken.
Can you share with me like how that conversation sounded, would like sound in your head when all that was triggered and being stirred up?
Yeah, I guess it would start with just asking myself the questions over whether I'd actually made a smart decision to kind of throw away a career, and then I would start questioning not just my decision making, but the actual abilities that I have to perform on the golf course. I was also not in a very healthy relationship at the time, and I think for the duration of that relationship, I was probably to a certain extent questioning any decision that I'd made, because I had decided to start that relationship and continue it. For sure, I noticed when that relationship inevitably did end that it was a turning point for me mentally in all aspects of my life. I was able to kind of regain confidence in myself, regain some control in my life, and that, for the first time in a long time, really helped me kind of believe a little bit more in myself and my abilities, because I'd actually stood up for myself in ending that relationship.
Yeah, man. I mean, thanks for sharing that. There is definitely, I want to take a moment to just acknowledge the courage that you had to step into this world. The more you're sharing and the more I get a clearer understanding of like where you were at as a person going through that transition, and you stuck with it and you're still doing it, that deserves a celebration in itself. Because I heard you say you were doubting your decision. So that I make stupid decisions. I don't have what it takes to succeed. I don't trust my decisions. I'm not confident. I'm not in control, and I don't stand up for myself.
Yeah, that's wow. When you hear it all laid out like that quickly, that's I'm not surprised. I was
Like
struggling with my mental performance.
That's the programming that you showed up with in the golf world, man. Like, and some of it, that's just some of it. That's a part of it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this stems from all the way to childhood, like these things are programs that that you were conditioned into in your formative years. It creates a counter force there's a pull, I want this, but then there's like the opposite force that like, no, you're not going to have it. And so this like push pull between your positive beliefs and your negative beliefs creates your paradigm. And if it's one of where the negative tension is winning, then you're not you don't have access to the reality that you ultimately want to experience, because your belief system, it doesn't fit. So what came up in hearing that reflected?
And it's funny because I literally just said all of those things, but to hear it being like run back bullet form was like holy shit. That's a lot. And I guess I'm proud of myself. I really don't know if that's an answer you would be expecting here, but it would have been so easy to have just given up. So clearly, even though, and again, like we're like, just starting a first session here, there's probably even more than what we've talked about at this point, but just with what we have on the table at this point, to overcome that and continue fighting. I said there was like a 4 out of 5 on the belief system. Well, that 5 or 6 that I'm saying is kind of like going against me, or let's say there's something in that 4 or 5 in the belief that is really strong. Because if I didn't like deep down believe that I could actually do something, I would have quit. I would have quit years ago and just like, either go back to working in a pro shop or get back into my old career and get on with life. I would not have put myself through what I've endured the last 7 or 8 years playing professional golf, because as much as I love it, it's tough.
Like I'm feeling some emotions coming up just because that's real, man. That came from somewhere deep inside of you that like you said, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
because I didn't quit. I'm proud of myself because I believed in myself enough to go for my dreams. It's important to let that land, not just be, not let that just be words that are spoken, but like words that are felt.
Yeah.
Because that's just, that alone is healing.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was a very gratifying moment just now.
Let that be felt fully. When I look at this, I make stupid decisions. I don't have what it takes. I don't trust my decisions. I'm not confident. I'm not in control of my life. I don't stand up for myself. Where does this bring you? Does it like, what version of yourself kind of comes up when this is reflected to you?
I mean, there's kind of aspects of it that apply to different parts of my life, but all of those in the same kind of breath brings me right back to the beginning of my professional career.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about like who that guy was?
As I'd mentioned, I was in a relationship. It really was an incredibly unhealthy relationship. A lot of emotional abuse in that relationship, which it took me years to figure out. There was a lot of financial instability. Yeah, there like it really was. Now that I'm really thinking of it, it was like fight or flight mode all day, every day, and there was very little time to just kind of relax and appreciate the small things, and it was a stressful time. Yeah,
man. Is it possible that stepping into the world of pro golf with this in this state, with this level of stress, that on a subconscious level you would have projected that stress onto your new role as a pro golfer, and then created a paradigm where being a pro golfer is really fucking stressful?
Yeah, I think inevitably that would have been the case, that whatever was going on in my personal life definitely overflowed into my professional life.
So if you stepped into this world of professional golf from a paradigm that pro golf is really stressful, you showed up every day with that stress, how did this affect your level of performance?
Negatively. And you just mentioned bringing it just to this stress, bringing this to work with me every day. I can remember practice sessions where, there's the amount of pressure I was putting on myself just hitting balls in the driving range was just ludicrous. Like, how are you supposed to make any progress in that kind of state and just beating balls for hours, making little to no progress, and just getting supremely frustrated? That kind of approach isn't going to get you very far.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like we've established that right from the get-go, created a paradigm as a pro golfer that this life is stressful and filled with pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Pressure and stress don't really exist out there, right?
Sure,
it's all
yeah.
you.
Yep.
And so it's not the situation itself, it's your thinking about the situation. It's your perception of it. And so it's all an internal experience. And so the pressure and the stress that you experience, you created within yourself, and then you fueled, you fed, you amplified unconsciously, and that was your paradigm. That's how you stepped into the world of pro golf. That was the story. I need to at least make my money back. I need to not throw my money away. And showing up, I would imagine showing up on the first tee with those stories in your head, be hard to get a birdie on the first hole, make it a little bit extra hard to make a birdie on the first, the second, the third, or the fourth hole.
It's hard to play free at all at any point in the round.
And you've been carrying this narrative. It might have quieted down a little bit. You might have been learned how to cope with all of it a little bit better, but it sounds like the effects are still there because I'm still a slow starter. That was still part of your story, and it's our emotions that drive our behavior. And so when those emotions are still alive, they haven't been fully processed in your body, then as soon as you pull into the parking lot, your body's like, alert, alert, this is scary, stressful, pressure. The whole thing starts freaking out. And then you have to work through that, or you have been creating a process for yourself where you work through it on the first few holes. And then if you're lucky, you bust through, and then you find a little bit of flow and some free swings and a bit of freedom out there.
Yeah.
So to say that all of this has still been alive in your body since the day one? Like, how does that land? Does that feel accurate to you?
It definitely still exists. Yes.
Mm-hmm. The fact that you've learned to cope with all of that, and the paradigm still hasn't changed, because it's still in your body. That stress, that pressure, the story of you as a pro golfer and what pro golfing is like for you is still one that's filled with all of that energy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to guide you through a process to help you shift that paradigm for yourself, if you're open to it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll close the eyes again and just drop into the breath. Notice what's alive in your body in this moment. Just notice, is there tension anywhere? Is there some sensations? It could be like butterflies in your stomach, knots in your stomach, tightness in your chest, something in your throat. It could be just noticing what's there and just being curious. So now in your mind, I'd like for you to bring me to your first professional event and describe to me what it was like for that version of yourself to go through that experience.
So my first professional event was just north of Toronto. So I'd driven up solo. I'd enjoyed the process of getting there. It was exciting. I was staying at a buddy's place while I was there, and when I got up the next morning and drove to the course, one of at the time, my good buddies from home was waiting for me in the parking lot. He'd driven all the way to Toronto to caddy for me and surprised me there. So I do remember before that excitement, yes, definitely some nerves, and just then was hit with this overwhelming feeling of support from this friend Mark, who showed up to be there for me, which I think was a good thing, but it might have thrown me a little bit before the round.
And how did the start? Am I recalling stepping onto the first tee, the first few holes? What was that like for you?
I was definitely nervous. I definitely wasn't swinging very free, even though I at the time had been playing some pretty good golf. Hadn't really seen myself perform in those circumstances before, though I realized the circumstances shouldn't really change what I do, but I allowed the situation to negatively impact me.
And what was the result in the end of that tournament for you?
I did make a paycheck, but it was I think I finished in the last paying spot. So I made I don't know, $50 or something. It was a good experience, but it wasn't a great showing for me.
What would you say the emotions were, the resulting emotions of your first tournament? What were you feeling?
Disappointed that I hadn't performed better, but proud of the fact that I'd done it, that I'd actually gone out to Toronto and competed, because I remember being very stressed out over whether I should actually register for that event, because it was going to cost me a lot in gas and hotel. And then, once I ended up figuring out I had a buddy who lived not too far away and I could crash with him, then I was kind of okay, we're going to put money into this then. So again, that kind of goes back to what we were saying. Just so much of my early career was, even deciding what tournaments I'm playing in based on, the financial constraints. And yeah.
Is there a moment when the pressure and the stress hit a peak for you in those early days?
Nothing that comes to mind, obviously.
So I'd like for you to, in your mind, connect with the version of yourself that made the decision to turn pro. Let's go back there in time, and as best as you can, remember what it was like to be that guy, what kind of thoughts he was thinking, what his world was like, all the doubts and the stories that I might not have what it takes. I've never been outstanding. I'm just a late starter. And, do I even belong here? Do I fit here? I'm not confident. This might have been a bad decision. The guy who was living in that world where all of this was fresh and it was kind of intense for him.
So I played two years as an amateur before turning pro, and the first year as an amateur, I competed in club events and interclub tournament, but I didn't do anything provincial. No big tournaments. Didn't feel I was ready. Won the club championship at my club, and that was the goal for that year. It's if you can't win the club championship at your home course, there's really no point in pursuing this. So won that. The next year I started playing more provincial events, had had a really, really good start to the season, qualifying for one of the big provincial events, which is a mixed field professionals and amateurs. And I think I shot 65 to win the qualifier I was in, and then shot, was it 65 or 67? Anyways, I think I shot 67 in the event itself and held the clubhouse lead for several hours as being one of the qualifiers. I'd had an early tee time. I held the clubhouse lead for several hours, and essentially the tournament ended up getting canceled because of adverse weather. A lot of rain had come in and the course was unplayable. So, man, I'm glad this came up because I'm sure this plays a lot into this. I'd set out a goal kind of in that off season that this tournament, the Spring Open, that I was like, this would be the first kind of outside event that I was going to play in and that I was going to win it. So I worked all winter on my game. I'd been down to Florida in the spring to get ready, and then took care of business at the qualifier and, you know, shot a 4 under 67 in some pretty tough windy conditions in the tournament itself. Now, like, I know that like there were still players on the field. There were still guys who could have come in with a lower score and beaten me if they'd had the chance to finish their rounds. But even if somebody had come in and, let's say, signed for a 66, well, you know, I could shake the hand of the guy and just be like, yeah, great playing. But to have the tournament essentially be canceled and called a 9-hole tournament because everybody had played the front 9. I lost to a guy who, he beat me by 1 on the front 9, but I beat him by 5 for 18 holes. And essentially feeling like, yeah, not that it was a guaranteed win, but having the chance to win that tournament taken away from me was really tough. And, you know, I kind of felt like, you know, I had this goal. I did everything I was supposed to do. I'd put in all the work. I'd performed in the qualifier. I'd performed in the tournament. And like the universe somehow found a way to like take this away from me. It's like as if winning wasn't already hard enough. There was now this like extra obstacle, which I had to overcome. And that sat with me for a long time. Anyways, I ended up having a reasonably good rest of the season, though I'd never really fully rebounded from that, but was able to still get some decent results throughout the year, finished the year strong, and at that point decided that, partially because I was an amateur and I was playing a lot of golf, that I needed a means of making money that was also going to allow me to continue playing and practicing. So turning pro was the obvious answer at the time, because at least, you know, if I was working as an assistant pro, my life would still revolve around the game of golf. You know, as soon as I get off work, I can go practice and play, or, you know, whatever it might be.
Sounds like that was a hard experience for you. Sounds like maybe you felt like you were cheated and it was unfair.
Yeah, I guess I had some of those sentiments. I mean, I understand that, like, obviously nobody is controlling the weather, and it just, you know, it is what it is, but it was still a hard situation to overcome. Like I said, I would have been fine if I hadn't won, but just to kind of have that performance like swept under the rug in that fashion. Once the back 9 didn't count, well, then, like, you know, there was literally no evidence that I'd even gone out and played a good round.
Okay, so now we're going to stay eyes closed, and the next part of the process is, we brought up all of these things. I invited you to share and go there in your mind so that it would come up again in your body. All the stuff that's not processed, that there's still charges around, have been brought to the surface, brought to your conscious awareness. And all of these unprocessed emotions are still alive in your body. You know, emotions that are buried alive never die, as they say. So,
sure.
And all of these things, these patterns, this conditioning, these emotions don't belong in you in your paradigm as a peak performer. They don't help you perform. And so by helping you process these emotions, it's going to help you shift into a different paradigm where you can now create yourself to be whoever you want to be. There's going to be more freedom to show up as who you really are. And from that, you know, setting the stage for your full potential to actually be able to come through. And so I'd like for you to keep connection to that guy where you just connected with, you know, your past self at that time, and take a few deep breaths. You're going to drop through the body fully. So just notice what's alive in your body right now, what you're feeling in your body. When you speak, I want you to speak from your body as much as you can. So maintaining awareness, connection to your body, allow the words to come resonate out of your body. And there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of transformation, a lot of growth that you've experienced. And who you are today is not who you were back then. To help you close the gap from that 5 to that 10 and change the story of yourself as a golfer, I want you to speak from the wisdom that you've acquired from who you are right here, right now, from your power in the present moment, and give the speech to that younger version of yourself that he needed to hear, that no one was around to share with him.
Literally would have just told him, hey, James, this is another obstacle. Get back up and keep fighting. Felt too defeated by it at the time to be able to just see it that clearly.
Is there anything else that wants to be expressed?
Yeah, you needed to hear that you had to stand up for himself. Don't be scared to make difficult decisions, which are going to be the right ones for you in your life.
Were you feeling that in your body when those words come out?
Right under my sternum.
What does it feel like?
A little ball of pressure there, let's say.
Is this something that's new or is this something that you have observed or noticed before?
Only in the last 5 minutes did that appear.
Okay. What does that ball feel like if you're to describe the sensation of having that little ball of pressure underneath your sternum?
It literally feels like it's emotion that hasn't been let go.
And how big is this ball?
Say halfway between a golf ball and a tennis ball.
Okay. And if you were to give this ball a color, what color would you attribute to it?
Say gray.
So there's like a sensation of a gray ball, maybe a little bit smaller than a tennis ball, right underneath your sternum right now, that you're noticing in your body. That's sensation has come up from going back into old memories that were painful, that were stressful, that were filled with pressure. Okay, I'll invite you to imagine that you can go inside of it, become that ball. What needs to happen? How can you dissolve this pressure? What comes up for you on that?
I think it's just about acceptance, accepting what happened specifically, let's say for that one tournament, accepting that I put myself in certain situations in my life and didn't necessarily stand up for myself as soon as I should have, that I didn't make the changes that would have made my life better, myself happier. Accept that all of that happened, acknowledge that I have since then stood up for myself, made the right decisions, improved, my overall happiness, and that I can really move on from, I guess, the chapter of my life that gray ball represents.
Good. And so how is your breathing in this moment?
I mean, it's not quite as slow as when we're kind of like, trying to dive into the meditative state, but it's by no means racing.
Okay. So let's bring some full deep breaths into this experience, and imagine that when you're breathing, and imagine that your breath alone can help dissolve this pressure. And all you need to do is just breathe and be with what's happening in your body as you're breathing. And tell me if you're noticing anything changing. Tell me if you're noticing new sensations coming up as you're coming back to a state of relaxation in your body through your breath.
I noticing that when I do a deep inhale, there seems to be less room for the ball.
So let's just keep with that. Let's just stay with that. Because your body has natural processes that it needs to move through to bring certain experiences to completion. And when you're in a place where your body doesn't have the safety it needs to move through its natural processes, then they're interrupted and the energy becomes frozen, becomes stuck in certain places. Behind this energy, are the emotions. And as long as the process is not brought to completion, then your body will bring up the same reactions when you're in the familiar environments that remind it of the original experience. And so just stepping onto the golf course for you, tournament play, stepping onto the first tee, your body's been programmed to have this reaction as if it's in a very highly stressed, high pressure situation. And this sensation has been a buildup since the beginning. And so what you're doing right now is teaching your body that it's safe. It's safe to be a pro golfer. It's safe to process all the stuff that you weren't able to process, that you were too stressed to process when you started the journey, when you were someone who didn't stand up for himself, when you were someone that really believed in the old stories that I'm not outstanding, I don't belong here, I'm not confident, etc., etc. Are you noticing anything else? Like, how's the breathing going? What's alive in you right now?
The breathing is still slower. I'm feeling like certain releases of tension in areas of my body that I didn't even feel there really was tension to begin with. So like while you were talking there, at one point during an exhale, there was a big release of tension in like my forehead above my right eye, not somewhere I was aware of any tension whatsoever. I mean, usually when I'm trying to get rid of tension, it kind of starts with the head and moves down the body from there. So I'm not sure if that represents something a little bit larger than just some tension, but that's the majority of what I'm feeling right now, is just these every now and again, just like a subtle little release of tension. Also some pretty raw emotions. I'd say a combination of just reflecting on some of the harder times, but mostly the realization or the recognition that I have achieved a lot just in having fought through all of these obstacles that I've had to overcome, and that I'm still fighting for myself and pursuing my dream.
So let's bring the past self back, right before turning pro. Let's go back there in your mind and let those emotions that have come up be expressed to that guy. What are the words that are behind those emotions that version of yourself needs to hear?
Keep fighting. It's not always going to be this hard. You're doing this because it's what you believe you were meant to do.
And just sit with it, stay with it. If there's anything else, the space is yours right now. I heard you say earlier that you're proud of yourself. Do you think he needed to have somebody that's proud of him?
Yes, absolutely.
What does that sound like?
I'm proud of who I was at the time, even though things were far from great. I'm proud of how I dealt with situations in my life at the best of my abilities at that time, and I'm proud of myself there.
Yeah, good, man. So I'll invite you to take a few deep breaths, and slowly, when you feel good, when you feel ready, you can slowly come back and open your eyes. So the idea behind this process was like there's a part of our nervous system that's a wild animal, and it's our animalistic nature. Like we're just there's a very instinctual kind of intelligence. And that part of you, when it's not safe, it's beyond logic, it's beyond reason how that part of you operates. That intelligence, it's very instinctual, very primal in nature. That part of you felt threatened, and there was a connection between golf and stress and pressure that hadn't really been resolved in the deeper parts of your body, deeper parts of your nervous system.
It all makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I guess hard to summarize how I'm feeling through all of it. That was obviously these aren't things that I've never talked about before, but I don't think I've ever kind of addressed them in the type of context that we did today. And it was pretty enlightening seeing it through this kind of context as to just kind of how obvious some of the issues I've been trying to overcome, how obvious the source of these issues really is, that kind of feel like it's all out in front of me. And that's not me saying that I should have been able to have recognized and dealt with it. Just I guess sometimes you expect things to be just a little bit more complex.
It is complex, man.
Sure.
It's simple in concept, but it's complex to fully live and fully process.
Yeah.
It's amazing how complex you are as a being, and your wiring and all of these things, and so that's why it's been still lingering, because it's so complex beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Where a lot of mainstream approaches, I guess we could say, kind of falls short, is just dealing with the head level stuff.
Sure.
But it's the stuff that it's the body that performs. It's the intelligence of your body that pulls off, that swings. And you're not telling your body, oh, well, move your shoulders and do this, and your weight's got to be here. And it's just, it's the same intelligence that pulls off your golf swing when you're in a flow state is the intelligence that beats your heart, that makes you breathe, that pumps your blood, that digests your food. when that intelligence gets the right instructions and is free to be expressed, magical shots happen, you know, just like it just clicks, because to ask that intelligence, the intelligence of your body, the genius of your body, to do a golf swing when it's digesting food and pumping blood and cleaning and keep maintaining homeostasis, and it's doing that all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, golf swing, sure, easy, I'll do that.
Right.
Why doesn't it happen so simply and so easily? Is because there's so much interference on the line, so that intelligence doesn't have a clear channel to actually work. And so we need to work with that level of intelligence, give it the messaging that it needs, that, hey, this is good, we've grown a lot, we're safe, pro golf is fun, like I have what it takes, I stand up for myself now. You know, I'm going to keep going, and I'm fucking proud of myself for how I've showed up. And so going that deep takes courage, it takes the time it takes, and it takes these kinds of processes, and your body's got its own rhythm. And so I wanted to help you initiate the movement of it in your body, get you connected to it through the awareness of your body. And now I'll invite you to just give yourself what you need for the rest of today, whether that's like going for a walk, doing a workout, like meditating, doing some journaling, whatever, and allow yourself to feel as best as you can the emotions that come from, you know, the movement that we've initiated in your body with all this stuck energy. Maybe go hit some golf balls and like that's probably a decent idea, and just see what that feels like.
Absolutely.
I want to leave you in your own space without adding too much to it. So I'll check in with you in a couple days just to kind of see where your head went, where your headspace is at, what it was like to integrate, you know, this process. And there might be something else I can offer, like an assignment or like a reflection or something. But take a couple days to just sit with this and know that, you know, you're doing the work, man. You're doing the work. It's way easier to avoid this stuck energy. Stuck energy in the body turns into chronic pain. It turns into if it stays there, like that's why a lot of people have chronic pain, because of stuck energy in their body that they're just don't have the reason or the courage to want to face. Because it's fucking uncomfortable. It takes a lot. It's the warrior's work, man. And like, and you know, you went there. This is the start of something, and there is a reality not that far away where you show up and you're like, first tee, wow, I'm so grateful to be here. And I'm so ready. And I see my target, and oh man, I just got to let it rip. And there it goes. And then it lands, and then you're in it right from the get-go. That world exists. It's there for you.
Can't wait to get there.
Yeah, dude.
I appreciate your time, man. This was enlightening.
My pleasure, man. I appreciate the space to help you out, be of service, and we'll be in touch, man.
Looking forward to it.
Have a good rest of the day, and yeah, I'll reach out.
Thanks. Looking forward to it.
All right, dude.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Oh, that is hard work. It's good work. It's necessary work, but it is hard work.
Alright guys, that's a wrap for this video. I really hope these tips Alain and I shared today help you with any kind of imposter syndrome that you're dealing with and boost your confidence on and off the course. Always remember that believing yourself is key to unlocking your full potential. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. And as always, feel free to share your experience or any tips that you have down in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your support. And as always, I'll be back again next week with another video. Cheers, guys.